Hi, my name is Donna Martin, and I'm the School Nutrition Director for Burke County Public Schools, and I oversee the summer feeding program. We have a large rural community, total food insecurity, and we have transportation issues. So we worked with our bus shop to work out bus routes so that we could take the food to the children, and it has worked out beautifully. Every summer, we watch the academic slide of kids going home for the summer and not having access to healthy food. They may have access to food, but we're interested in the children having access to healthy food. During the summer, we have access to all this healthy food from our farmers, and so we love having our farmers have the ability to provide food to the students. And our farmers tell us they love getting to provide food to the students. It makes them really, really feel good. So our families are really struggling because of COVID and job losses, and bringing this food to them makes my staff really, really feel good, and the parents are so appreciative of this program. The other thing the kids say is they love getting all the fresh fruits in the summer. So we do peaches and scuppernongs and pears, and every summer they start asking, when are we going to start getting the peaches and the fresh fruits? So they really, really do get excited about that. When I say, what do you like the best about the meal program? And they say the healthy food. And whoever thought that a middle schooler would say that? But that is a fantastic testament to what we're able to do. If you're thinking about participating in the summer food service program, you need to really do it, because you will receive a bigger blessing than these children receive when you're able to deliver healthy meals and to serve these kids and see their eyes light up and to see the thank you, the notes, the appreciation from them, from their parents, from their grandparents, from their guardians. It is more of a blessing than you will ever receive any other part of your life. Right from the start helps you every step of the way. So if you have issues, you call them, they help you. And if you don't want to call them, you can call another organization that is operating the program. We all love to help each other because we all know there is such a huge need out there for this program, and we need more sponsors to operate the program. So with Bright from the Start and the Summer Food Service Program, we know they're getting healthy food, and we know that academic slide is not going to be there.
And what a great message from Donna Martin, who is the Nutrition Director for Burke County Public Schools. Happy Helpings has made a real difference in rural Georgia, an area with total food insecurity. And we especially appreciate how they partner with their local farmers to provide healthy meals for the kids in your area. Who's heard about scuppernongs in a while? That's fantastic. Incredible report from Donna. We're going to hear more from her a little bit later on. You're going to hear more testimonials from folks like Burke County Public Schools confirming the value that Happy Helpings brings to communities all across the state of Georgia. Well, good morning and welcome to this virtual webinar from the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning. If we haven't met, I'm Rich Griffin, Chief Communications Officer here at DeKalb. We'd like to welcome you to this virtual summit, something we're doing again this year in the spirit of the COVID Part 2. We're just being safe and not gathering in any one location around the state of Georgia, but meeting virtually all across Georgia. And we're so glad that you set aside this time to be with us today. With me today is someone that you probably have met if you've been a part of the program. We're thrilled to have her as our Nutrition Director, and that is Tamika Boone, Director of Nutrition Services here at DeKalb. Tamika, always great to see you.
Great to be here, Rich. Thank you.
So we have a great program lined up today for those interested in feeding Georgia's kids. We're hoping, let's just be honest, we're hoping to recruit some new folks for Happy Helpings today.
Absolutely. We are definitely looking forward to sharing a lot of great information with our attendees. Welcome to everyone. We have a lot of information. We have a packed agenda to provide to you today. We're going to give you some really helpful information on how you can become a part of the Happy Helpings program. We're going to talk about how the program works. We're going to share information on how you could potentially receive financial reimbursement for participating in this program. And really importantly, we're going to hear from some of our veteran sponsors. They're going to talk to us about how they make it work in their communities, how the program works for them, and share some of their best practices and tips. And so we're going to hope that you leave today feeling better informed about the Happy Helpings program and can see where you fit in with the program.
Right. And I think the reason people love the panel and the testimonials so much is that, we can talk about this all day from the perspective of decal, but it's one thing if you've been on this journey, then that's someone that if you're brand new to it, you might want to connect with to find out really what a great experience this is to serve children and families in your community. This is one of those things that sometimes you get involved in a program and you don't really get to see the results. This is instant and immediate gratification as you see children and families served nutritious meals and snacks across Georgia. So stick with us here for a little while. We're going to tell you all about it and hopefully get you excited. It is a great program, and Happy Helpings played a critical role in feeding kids during the pandemic. Most people think about the program only during the summer, but when the pandemic started back in March of 2020, the sponsors really stepped up and served more than 20 million meals and snacks year round.
At 20 million, if you can believe it, to touch that many children was remarkable. And we really would not have been able to do it without our sponsors, who are truly the backbone of the Happy Helpings program.
Right. So if you're a returning sponsor and you've been part of this program before, give yourself a little pat on the back. You deserve it because you have helped the state of Georgia get through probably one of the most unprecedented, difficult, challenging times in our history. You played a major role, and we appreciate that. So before we really get rolling today, let's review a couple of housekeeping items for you. The program is being recorded, so all participants are in mute. However, that does not mean you can't ask a question. We want to hear from you today. So if you have a question at any time during the webinar, what we want you to do is use the Q&A feature here on the screen. We'll monitor the questions as we're going along today. A couple of times we'll take a break and take those questions. We'll pause and answer some of those questions for you. If you run into any technical difficulties and you can't access the presentation, you can dial in and listen by phone. Phone number's on your screen, 301-715-8592, and use that webinar ID number there to join that way. So we're looking forward to talking with many of you today. We know that we have folks online, I think over close to 300 altogether that are participating from all over Georgia. And that's important because as you're going to see here shortly, we have needs in several parts of Georgia that have gone unserved by our Happy Helpings program, the summer food service program. And we want to reach out and connect with those counties this year. We have 159 counties in Georgia. As most of you know, we would like to have a program serving on some level every single one of those 159 counties, and we simply cannot do it without you. So stay tuned, find out how easy it is to get involved and how rewarding this program really is. And Tamika, some of our audience members may have noticed the summer food service program has a new name and a new logo. The program is now called Happy Helpings, Georgia's Summer Food Service Program. Tell us about the new brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like you mentioned, some of the attendees here are veterans, and so they're used to seeing the summer food service program. But earlier this year, we decided to rebrand Georgia's summer food service program. And as you mentioned, we rebranded it as Happy Helpings. And the reason is we wanted to find an identity that's more family friendly, that's more fun, that sort of matches our target audience with this program. And so we want to continue to grow the program. We want the program to be a household name. And so the summer food service program was very generic. And so we wanted to come up with a brand that was unique to Georgia and that was appealing for families and appealing for kids. And we hope that you join us in appreciating the Happy Helpings program, the new brand, the new logo. And again, we're just hoping that it becomes an everyday name, everyday household name.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's very animated and it's great for kids and it's something they'll enjoy with the fork and spoon and the smile. So we've got a new name, and we also have a new website. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So we thought it would be helpful to have just a dedicated page just for Happy Helpings for folks to learn about the program. And so you'll see the URL here. It's happyhelpingsga.com. And so with this dedicated website, the potential organizations that want to participate in Happy Helpings can get a lot of great information to learn about the program, to learn what the need is in Georgia. They also will have the opportunity to complete an online form where they can provide their contact information and request more information. And then you'll see at the menu at the top, there's also a page dedicated for families. And so families can go to that site, that location of the site, and figure out where's my closest meal site and what exactly is Happy Helpings and how does it help my family. And then on the resources tab, you will find a lot of really great nutritional information. We have recipes, we have child-friendly activities. So a lot of great resources that both sponsors and families can utilize on that resources page. And then last, we have FAQs. A lot of information can be found there and a lot of questions can be answered there. But our team is also available and happy to answer any questions that may come up from sponsors as well.
Right. Well, it's a great name, great new logo. I know we're hearing all kinds of great feedback about the rebranding, and I encourage everyone to check out the website. Check out the URL with those that may be interested in knowing more about the program. Again, that URL is happyhelpingsga.com. And we shared it with our Board of Early Care and Learning not too long ago, and everyone was very, very enthusiastic and excited about it. So great to have that going for us this year. Tamika, let's talk for a minute about why the need. Why is there a need for a program like Happy Helpings?
Well, absolutely. Happy Helpings, the overall goal is to ensure children have access to nutritious meals when school is not in session. And so I think a lot of us are accustomed to our children receiving their meals through the National School Lunch Program when they're in school during the school year. But when the school breaks for the summer, the question is, how do we make sure that these children continue to have access to those meals and snacks that they're accustomed to getting during the school year? And that's when summer feeding programs, one of which is the Happy Helpings programs, really becomes helpful because it helps to bridge that gap. And again, to ensure that children continue to have the access to healthy meals and snacks during the summer.
All right. Well, very good. Let's see. I'm trying to find where we're going now because I'm having technical difficulties. So what's coming up next?
So let's go to the next slide. And as you mentioned, Reg, we'll talk a little bit about the need in Georgia because a lot of people have convened here on this call because I think they recognize the need, but we just really wanted to reinforce that. So the child food insecurity rate right now in Georgia is 1 in 6 children. 1 in 6 children in Georgia are food insecure, and that's 16%. And that's really concerning because we know that even prior to the pandemic, there was a lot of food insecurity and a lot of just economic challenges that families are facing. But when the pandemic did happen, and now that we're in the middle of this public health emergency, then the problem with food insecurity is really emphasized in a really unfortunate way. And so that's when programs like Happy Helpings really become important because the folks at USDA, the folks here at Georgia DeKalb know that families are having to make a lot of really tough decisions about their households. And we don't want one of those tough decisions to be, how am I going to feed my kids? And that's why we really do the work that we do. And we're hoping that you will come join us in doing this work to ensure that we can reduce this number as much as possible. And let's go to the next slide. And I want to talk a little bit more about some of the specific areas in Georgia that have a need. You'll see here that these 10 counties have a child food insecurity rate of over 30%, as referenced by the Feeding America a resource here. And so while we want a Happy Helpings feeding site in every county, and all 159 counties, as you mentioned, Reg, we are spending a lot of our focus and time and energy on these 10 counties because they have a very high child food insecurity rate. And so we just ask that if you attendees are are servicing these areas, if you work in these areas, then we really definitely want to have a conversation with you, because these are our target counties and we feel like we can have the greatest impact in these areas of the state. And so, as I mentioned, we want a meal site, a Happy Helpings meal site in all 159 counties. What you see on the screen now are the counties that did not have a summer feeding site, a Happy Helpings summer feeding site in 2021. And so, take a moment to look through this list here. If you know you serve Gilmer County, if you work in Stewart County or Wilkinson County, all these counties on this page, we definitely encourage you to consider operating a meal site this year in one of these areas that are desperately need some assistance.
Right. So point out not only your county, if you see your county, but also any neighboring counties that you could possibly partner with to reach out to those areas. I know we see that in some of our current and past providers have been doing that, particularly in the more rural areas of the state where the need, as we've mentioned already, is so desperate. So definitely learn more, become a part of the program. We have a lot of people on the webinar today, Tamika, who are interested in maybe learning about how Happy Helpings works, and they can potentially become a sponsor. And so I think it's always helpful, we never want to assume that everybody knows about the summer food service program. If you could give us some background on how this all works, how they get involved, what role they play. Again, a reminder as we're talking and you have questions about the program, or even like to make a statement, you can do that through the Q&A feature on the screen. We're going to be going back and checking in with Cindy Kicklighter on our nutrition team in just a few minutes to get those questions. But right now, Tamika, tell us how the Happy Helpings program works.
Sure. So we'll orient ourselves to, on the screen here, we have 4 boxes, sort of 4 actors, if you will, or participants in this program. The first of which is the U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA. So this is Happy Helpings is a USDA funded program. So they provide all of the funding. USDA provides all of the federal regulations and policies that govern how the program should operate. But USDA works with the state agencies across the country to actually administer the program. And that's where the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning, or Georgia DECAL, comes into play for this program. So we are responsible for recruiting organizations, recruiting sponsors and sites to participate in the program. We provide training. We provide the actual reimbursement. We issue the payments to our sponsors. And we also are responsible for monitoring our sponsors to ensure that they are meeting the USDA program requirements. And next are our sponsors. These are the organizations, the nonprofit organizations that actually sign an agreement with us, Georgia DECAL, that says we will participate in the Happy Helpings program and adhere to all of the requirements. These sponsors are also responsible for actually providing the meals to the sites that we'll talk to next. And so the sponsors accept full responsibility for the program, meaning that they're responsible for training the staff, they're responsible for filing the claim for reimbursement. And again, the sponsors are responsible for actually providing the meals to the sites. And the sites are where the children actually receive their meal. And so anywhere the children congregate, we'll talk a little bit more about some examples of sites, but where children congregate in the summer, those are ideal for meal sites. A lot of the meal sites have to have area eligibility, meaning that they are located in low-income areas, because this program is targeted for that population. It's intended to target low-income areas. And I wanted to note here that meal sites don't actually receive the reimbursement. As I mentioned, sponsors provide the meals, and so we provide the reimbursement to the sponsors, and the meal sites just receive the funding. They receive the meals. They receive the meals from the sponsor. So that is a quick overview of the structure of the program. But specifically, I wanted to talk a little bit about who can be a sponsor for Happy Helpings. And so you have to have a 501c3, you have to be a nonprofit in order to be a sponsor. And so we also have units of government that participate, as you see here on the slide, housing authorities, boards of commissioners, local municipalities and such. Also public or private, nonprofit camps can participate in Happy Helpings, colleges, universities, and schools. And then we have our private nonprofit organizations. We have national organizations like Boys and Girls Clubs and YMCAs, Salvation Army that participate, and local private nonprofit organizations. They may not be national, but they're doing a lot of great work in Georgia. They also are maybe eligible to participate in the Happy Helpings program. So just figure out here whether or not you have a 501c3, whether or not you fit into one of these categories, and then you may be eligible to be a sponsor for this program. All right, and so if you are eligible, first the next step is to decide, well, what are the responsibilities and can I meet these responsibilities? And so we wanted to talk a little bit about that today to let you know that if you are interested in becoming a sponsor, you would be required to attend a 2-day new sponsor training. Right now, we are holding those virtually. We will continue to do that this year. You are responsible as a sponsor for locating and recruiting eligible sites. So we will share information on where some of the need is in the state, but our sponsors are the most familiar with their communities. And so they are responsible for going out and recruiting and identifying where they will operate a meal site in their community. Sponsors are also responsible for monitoring those sites, ensuring they're meeting all of the program requirements. They're required to train their staff. And specifically, sponsors are required to obtain a food service permit from the Georgia Department of Public Health if they are going to be preparing their own food. We will talk a little bit about that later, but just know that if your sites or your staff sponsors will be manipulating food in any way, then you would be expected to reach out to your local county health department and obtain a food service permit for wherever that food is being manipulated. Also, sponsors are required, as I mentioned earlier, for preparing and delivering meals to their sites, hiring and training staff, following all federal procurement requirements. And again, sponsors file that claim in our web-based system to let us know how many meals did you serve, so we know how much reimbursement you are eligible for. All right, and this slide here gives you a better picture of what to expect as far as the financial reimbursement. What's shown here are the reimbursement rates for this year, and you'll see the reimbursement rate varies depending on the meal type that was served and claimed. And also the amount changes depending on where your site is located and what your meal preparation method is. For example, if you are serving lunch and your site where you're serving lunch is located in a rural area as defined by USDA's rural designation maps, then you would receive this amount, the $44.56 approximately for each lunch that you served at that rural site. Or if it's not a rural site, but you are serving lunch at a site and sponsor, you are preparing the meals yourself, then you would receive that $4.56 reimbursement rate. But on the other hand, if it's in an urban area, so that it's not a rural area, and you are vending those meals, meaning that your staff are not preparing the meals, you are actually just procuring or buying or contracting with some third party to prepare the meals for you, then your reimbursement rate would be a little bit lower. And so you can use this chart here and sort of crunch some numbers and figure out what your expected number of meals that you would expect to serve each month would be, and use these reimbursement rates to get a feel for how much you would expect in federal reimbursement through the Happy Helpings program. All right, how are meals prepared? As I talked a little bit about this just in the prior slide, but there are basically two ways. You can be self-prep, or you could vend your meals. All of your sites don't have to be self-prep, and all of your sites don't have to be vended. It could be a mix, and some sponsors choose to have all of their sites the same method. But again, if you are a self-prep sponsor, then that means that either you are preparing meals either at a central location, or you are preparing meals on site where the meals will actually be served. If you are a vended sponsor, again, that means that you are working with some type of third party, a food service management company, a contractor, a vendor, a restaurant, a caterer, and you are buying complete unitized meals from that entity, that organization, and serving meals. And so in that case, you would be a vended sponsor. All right, moving on next, I wanted to talk really briefly about our audits. So Happy Helping sponsors are required to have a compliance review their first year. So you would actually have a pre-operational visit prior to approval, and that's basically our staff coming out to ensure that you're set up, you're ready to go, and you're set up to be successful. And once you're approved, then in your first year, you would have a compliance review, which would entail some of our audit staff from DECAL coming out to review one or more of your sites. And then they would also come to your sponsor's office to review more of the paperwork. So again, they're going to the sites to actually observe the meal service, seeing the kids receive the meals, ensuring that all the requirements are being met. And the sponsor level review is more paperwork administrative, when the audits team would come and have a look at all of the support that for your claim to ensure that you have all of your meal count records and such. But we like to say that if sponsors are familiar with the program requirements and keeping really good, accurate records, they don't have anything to be worried about during the compliance review, even though sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, or makes you a little nervous anytime somebody comes to audit you. But just know that if you're prepared, keeping great records, you have nothing to worry about.